Hello there, welcome back to TuesMagique. Today I am going to share with you an article from The Economist, and these are the colors that I often use in my notes. Let's start from the title. Getting Girlhood Right. Girls are doing better than ever. Don't let the pandemic stymie them. Right here, get something right means you do it properly, and then the word stymie here means to prevent something from happening or someone from achieving a purpose. So here it just means don't let the COVID-19 stop the girls from doing better. It is also a frequently used word from The Economist. For example, that politics will stymie reform. Let's look at paragraph number 1. For much of human history, and in many places, girls were considered property, or at best, subordinate people. Property means it's just an object that belongs to you. Sometimes we would say, please stop objectifying women. Or at best, subordinate people. If we look it up in the Oxford Dictionary, we would find that its definition is to be lower in rank or position. But here, it just means to be less important than other people, required to obey their fathers until the day they had to start obeying their husbands. Well, I urge you to think about it. If you are a girl, have you been obeying your father? And also, if you are a guy, have you seen your mother obeying her husband, which means your dad? Few people thought it worthwhile to educate them, again to educate girls, worthwhile to be good enough for you to spend time, money, effort on. For example, I have devoted a lot of time and effort in making this video, so I could say making this video to help others is truly worthwhile. But also, I would really appreciate if you could share this video or give me a thumb up if you like. Even fewer imagined that a girl could grow up to govern Germany, run the IMF, or invent a vaccine. IMF is the International Monetary Fund. I have put it down here. And for the girl who grows up to govern Germany, I think the author is talking about Angela Merkel, who is currently the Chancellor of Germany. And then the person who is managing IMF, the International Monetary Fund, is a French woman called Christine Lagarde. Next one, the woman who invented the COVID vaccine, Professor Sarah Gilbert, the woman who designed the Oxford vaccine. Okay, next paragraph. Paragraph number 2. I have received a lot of questions asking about this paragraph, so let's have a look. In most of the world, that vision of girlhood now seems not merely old-fashioned, but unimaginably remote. So vision just means how we think about girls, how society thinks about girls, which relates to what's said in the first paragraph. And then, in much of the rich world, parents now treat their daughters as well as they do their sons. So here do is just a replacement for treat to avoid redundancy, and invest as much in their future. Invest in someone's future. That's not difficult to understand, but invest as much means they invest as much in girls' future as they do in the guy's future. In field after field, well, you know, there is a song called Time After Time. It's like in one field and then another field, like lots of fields, girls have caught up with boy. So let's say this is a girl and this is a boy, and now caught up with is just catch up with, so she's catching up. Globally, young women now outnumber young men at university. Outnumber, which means the number of girls or young women is more than that of boys. The speed of change has been blistering. That means extremely fast. This reminds me of the word blitz, which is the German air raid on Britain in 1940 till 1941. The speed of change has been blistering. 50 years ago, only 49% of primary school-age girls in lower middle-income countries were in school, compared with 71% of boys. Today, the share of both is about 90%. This is a perfect sentence for IELTS writing, especially for part 1. In 1998, only half the world's secondary school-age girls were enrolled, which means they're in school. Today, 2/3 are. Over the same period, rates of illiteracy, which means people who can't read, fell from 1 in 5 young women aged 15 to 24 to 1 in 10, bringing them roughly on a pair with young men, which means equal in importance or quality to. For example, you could say that treated as a disease on a pair with the other major disease. Also, we could say if something is below pair, which means it's inferior. Paragraph 3. Girl babies are more wanted than ever before. Parents in some countries prefer them. Ooh, that's good news. Even in places such as China, where the sex-selective abortion of girl fetuses has been rife. Fetuses means an animal or a human being before it is born has been rife. Rife means even though it's very unpleasant, but it's very common or it happens a lot. It is often becoming less so. Just think about it. If I were aborted simply because I'm a girl, you guys wouldn't be able to hear me speaking now. Girls are also less likely to be married off in childhood. Married off is quite like hitched is like married. In 1995, almost 6 in 10 girls in South Asia were hitched before reaching 18. Outrageous! That ratio has fallen by half. Around the world, it has fallen from 1 in 4 to 1 in 5. Well, it's not like a big progress, but yes, we are moving forward. Paragraph 4. Girls are healthier too. Compared with, this is the second time we've seen this phrase, compared with the mid-1990s, they become sexually active later and are more likely to use contraception. So sexually active means they are engaged in sexual relations and are more likely to use contraception. Contraception is methods to prevent women from getting pregnant. And then also here is an example. He became sexually active at the age of 21. Rates of teenage pregnancy have fallen by a quarter, so it's just like 25% globally and by 2/3 in South Asia and North America. Girls are less likely to suffer female genital mutilation. It is one of the most awful things I've ever heard. So, female genital mutilation involves the partial or total removal of external female genitalia or other injury to the female genital organs for non-medical reasons. You might wonder, why does this happen? So basically, it's because in some cultures, violence against girls and women is socially acceptable. Next one. And object to, say no to something, this horrific tradition more vocally. So vocal just means to express opinions and complaints often. But in boy bands, you might hear vocal role or like rappers or dancers. Next sentence. Whereas in 2000, just 27% of women and girls in the most affected regions said it should be banned, prohibited, forbidden. Today, 54% do. Again, the do here is just a way of replacing the verb that we've known already. When societies handle girlhood well, the knock-on effects are astounding. So right here, knock-on effects means it's a secondary, indirect, or cumulative effect are astounding. So astounding means it's very shocking, surprising. For example, you could say an astounding fact or decision. For example, you could say FGM is an astounding fact. It's very shocking. A girl who finishes secondary school is less likely to become a child bride or a teenage mother. Well, if you are still in secondary school, stay there and go to university, don't drop out. Education boosts earning power and widens choices, so she is less likely to be poor or to suffer domestic abuse. This is one of my favorite sentences in this article. Education really boosts your ability to earn money so that you have more choices. You don't have to stuck in a place that you don't like. She will earn almost twice as much as a girl without schooling. I put like a little mark here because the author didn't say the source of statistics. I'm not sure about how I can verify it. Next one, well, let's talk about domestic abuse. It could be physical, psychological, or financial and economic abuse. The conclusion of this paragraph: stay in school and go to university, get as much education as you can get, and she will pass on a smorgasbord of advantages to her offspring. Smorgasbord refers to a mixture of many different hot and cold dishes that are arranged so that you can help yourself or serve yourself. But here you can understand the word as a mixture of many advantages. To her offspring means to her future generations. She will have fewer children. Nowadays, parents have way less children than they used to and invest more in them. They will be less likely to die in infancy, like babyhood when they're still babies, or to grow up stunted physically or mentally. Stunted means prevented from growing or developing to the usual size. For example, children with stunted growth. She will read to them more and help them with their homework, which is what my mom did when I was quite little. All this means they will learn more and earn more as adults. So pay attention to the stress as adults. A recent study by Citigroup, a famous American or actually now global bank founded in 1812, and Plan International, a child organization founded in 1973, which is a development and humanitarian organization that advances children's rights and equality for girls. Okay, let's go back here. Estimated that if a group of emerging economies, which means like the developing countries, ensured that 100% of their girls completed secondary school. Why is this in the past tense? That means it's not realized now. It could lead to a lasting boost to their GDP of 10% by 2030. So, as we could see, there is a link between gender development and socio-economic development. Because the benefits of nurturing girls are so large, it is a scandal that some countries have still failed to grasp them. Nurturing here means to take care of girls, and grasp. Sometimes if you say grasp, that means if this is my hand, okay, this is the horrible hand, and if I grasp something like a stick, I grasp it, I grab it. But then grasp here means to understand or take in. Less than half the girls in South Asia, the Middle East, or Africa have access to. Have access to means they can have something that they may want. They have access to the contraception, which is helpful for birth control. Only 1 girl in 3 south of the Sahara finishes her secondary education, and although rates of child marriage have fallen by half in South Asia, they have fallen by less than that in Africa, which now has the highest rate in the world, and have remained stagnant. Stagnant, which means like a dead lake. The water is not moving, it's just always like this. It doesn't even fluctuate, it just goes like this forever. In Latin America and the Caribbean. The COVID-19 pandemic. Well, we've talked a lot about COVID-19 pandemic in our 100-day The Economist Challenge, so you could go and check that out. The COVID-19 pandemic could hobble progress for girls in poor countries or even reverse it. Hobble means that if someone walks in like a hobbling way, that means he or she walks with a limp or with a stick. As a verb, to limit something or control the freedom of someone. So COVID-19 pandemic could limit the progress for girls in poor countries or even reverse it, which means go back. During previous disasters, they have often suffered most. When Ebola forced West African schools to close in 2014, many girls dropped out, which means they couldn't stay in school, never went back and ended up pregnant or as child laborers. This is something worth noting because that is what would happen to you if you don't get enough education. This is not the girl's fault, this is the society's fault. UNICEF warns that something similar could happen with COVID-19. UNICEF is the abbreviation for United Nations Children's Fund. Recently, I've done an interpreting for a science project funded by UNICEF, and they worked in Hangzhou and Beijing to discover child poverty, and it was really fascinating. UNICEF warns that something similar could happen with COVID-19, but on a larger scale. This is how you can form your sentence as well. Just say the sentence as like a normal one, and then just put the most important information in the end. Studies suggest that in the next decade, 30 million child marriages that would have been averted, which means that would have been prevented, may go ahead, and an extra 2 million girls may have their genitals cut. Genitals is just a not that polite word for private parts. The risk of regression is real, so it is crucial that even if governments of poor countries have to tighten their belts, well, we have a similar equivalent in Chinese, tighten their belt, which means you have to save your spending. You have to watch how much you spend. They prioritize spending on education and girls because, as was mentioned in the previous paragraphs, it helps with the economy and the society. Donors should help too. Donors means the people who donate money, and policies should be joined up. Persuading girls to stay in school longer is not only a way to teach them math. That's just the basic function of school, teach you math. I'm not very good at math. It is also a chance to vaccinate them and teach them about birth control, which is, all about the birds and bees, the contraception, the consent and self-assertion. Consent means you have to get my permission. For example, I got the consent of The Economist to repost its articles, and self-assertion means you have to be assertive. Here it just means give your opinions in a powerful way so that other people will notice, which relates to vocally, which means you often express your opinions. It can even be an opportunity to advise parents about the downsides of child marriage. Advise someone about something. Next paragraph. The last paragraph. Adolescence is a crucial juncture for girls. Juncture, which means just a period or a point of time. For example, you could say at this juncture. It is when many health problems emerge or are averted, and many social ones too, from truancy, which means the fact of dropping out, not longer staying in school, to self-harm, deliberately hurt yourself. Only recently has this phase been, phase means the period of time, when recognized as the most important for brain development after infancy. Infancy when you're still like a baby. Get it right and billions of girls will have a better shot, have like a chance. Get it wrong and they will live poorer, shorter lives, less able to stand up for themselves, stand up for, speak for, more vulnerable to coercion. Coercion means like using force to persuade someone to do something that they're unwilling to do. For example, when girls are facing female genital mutilation, I'm pretty sure they don't want to do it, but they had to because they were under coercion, and more likely to pass these disadvantages on to the next generation. So, get girlhood right. This is the final conclusion. Right, so that's the article. I hope you learned something and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give me a thumb up if you like it, and also don't forget to check out my WeChat official platform because I post things about my life and about my daily routine there, and if you're interested, go and check it out. I'll see you there. Bye-bye!